2024, getting set for election season, civic politics front and center, so we wanted to bring on Vancouver City Councillor, serving 2 terms, and outgoing City Councillor, I should say, George Affleck.
I'm out of here.
This is it.
This is it, yeah.
Well, you've been very candid about the realities of what life is like running for office, and I think this is an important perspective going into this election. What is an average day like? How your time is spent in chambers making decisions when you have a role like this?
Yeah, it's funny. There's no average day. There's the 2 days of every 2 weeks that we have council meetings. And so that's fairly predictable. They start at 9:30 and they go till 10 or 11 o'clock at night on those 2 days. And then there's public hearings. But then it's all the other stuff that you never know. Things like this, being with media, all the dinners you have to go to, just meeting with people across the city. It's a big city. We represent the whole city. So it's really very, very, very unpredictable for the most part.
Well, there's a great deal of healthy debate. And when it comes to making key decisions, patience, obviously an important virtue, but what else should you promote for anyone considering taking on this role of how challenging these decisions really are?
You know, if anybody ever saw the kinds of information that we get in advance of council meetings, it's significant. We don't have support as councillors. There's no staff that we have to. We have an assistant who helps with flights and things like that. But generally, you're required to read all the stuff, do the research, talk to staff, talk to people, kind of get a sense of where things are at. So you have to be an expert in engineering and development and sewers and water, and so you really get your head around a lot of different things. And so I always say just do the work. You just got to hammer down and just kind of do it.
So take us inside the reality of, okay, hard work is a part of this, inside chambers. Because anytime you watch this, it's the ultimate reality show. When you have polarizing views, how do you productively disagree and achieve some sort of progress when you want to see the city move forward?
Well, you don't always productively disagree, that's for sure. Generally, it's unproductive. It's chaos sometimes. Certainly in my first term, the Vision Vancouver, who had a solid majority, like a mass, eight people that they had, and there was 3 in opposition. They pounded away. I would go at them, and then they would have. You get 5 minutes each to talk on each issue to debate. And so I get my 5 minutes, and then they have 40 minutes. And so sometimes they would go for 40 minutes attacking me on my point of view of some issue or not. And so you'd sit there, and I learned how to kind of just zone into my computer screen and just kind of, because you can't really see, unless you're in the chamber, my reactions, because the cameras aren't, there's no, unless you're there. And everybody should go and watch some. It's crazy sometimes what goes on in there. But generally I just kind of sit there and look at my computer screen and just kind of get, it's very, you got to have a strong spine to take some of the beatings you get in there.
Well, the interesting, when you talk about the balance of power and the different views and time allotments, here's a chance for there to be change with what's about to happen. But I read something that you talked about the 2 types of people that enter politics. Tell us about this.
Well, I mean, they've kind of been defined in some ways, but I call there's sort of this nerd kind of person, this sort of policy wonk, who really loves just the details and coming up with policy ideas and reading all that stuff. And then there's kind of a retail politician, the kind of guy that likes kissing babies and going to events and shaking hands. It's not very often you find somebody who can do both those things. It's a nerd and into the policy stuff, and also can relate to the community and be gregarious. And but you should try to be both, is my point. It's not always easy to be the gregarious person and be a politician. Surprisingly, a lot of politicians are actually quite shy. But you also have to do the work and really respect the process and respect staff and understand that how the process works. It's frustrating. It's not fast. It's a bit faster in civic politics than it is in provincially and federally. But we have 10,000 staff in Vancouver. There's a lot of things that have to, moving parts to make things happen. And so, having those 2 personalities and trying to be both and be intuitive to the electorate. The people are smart. This election is crazy coming up. We have 71 people in Vancouver running for council, 21 running for mayor. I mean, that's just insane. It's twice as many as last time for council. I don't even know. And then there's like 8 parties, and it's insane. But I think at the end of the day, voters kind of figure it out, and they know who the best people are. So I have the utmost respect in the process, and very hopeful that we'll have a solid council.
Only a few seconds left, but the greatest reward. I know there's a lot of work, there's a lot of patience, but the greatest reward from a role like this.
I think you just do your work. Had a few wins, a few ideas that I've done. I've been very fighting for transparency in government and good governance. Not really exciting or sexy stuff, but I think it's important for democracy that we have an open and transparent government. So that's been very, very important for me.
All right. Interesting perspective. And October 20th, the big day to rock the vote.
Be there.
George, thanks so much for coming by.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break.